away. Volume. We can start lying down actually this evening if you'd like. Use any props to get comfy. Move your body. Feel the surface underneath you. Start to take some deep breaths in and out. Just to slowly soften the body for your practice. We're going to do some breath counting. So once you've settled down into a comfortable lying down position, we're going to take 3 deep breaths in and out. Try to breathe through your belly. Our habit is to lift and lower our chest when we breathe. Try to expand and decompress through the belly instead. And then return to a normal breath. And as you breathe in, allow each inhale to be the count of 4, with a slight pause before your exhale. And have a count of 4 on the exhale. And then another slight pause. Allowing the breath to flow smoothly. If your mind wanders, that's okay. Come back. Start at 1 and let go of any judgment surrounding the thoughts that are coming in. As you breathe, the body becomes softer and softer. Maybe the breaths become longer. Consciously release your body so that it can feel like a melting into the ground beneath you. Take your attention back to your belly to feel the rise and the fall. You can stay just as you are, or slowly begin to deepen your breath. From this lying down position, start to move the body just a little bit. You're going to be lying down. We're going to be moving into a supine twist, a supported supine twist. Grab your blocks, pillows, or bolster. No, mommy is not on the floor for you to play with. I like to always start on the right, so I'll put my bolster over on the right side of my right leg. Bring your left leg up and over. You're going to use a block as well. The block will be to go behind the low back, right behind your right cheek actually. And then you're going to adjust your right shoulder as far as you can, shimmy it to the right to try to get both shoulders flush with the floor. And try to ensure that your left shin from knee to ankle is supported, so that your knee isn't hanging off one side of your prop or your foot. Make sure the knee and the ankle are both supported. And you're breathing in and out into this space in your supine twist. And as you get into that supine twist, again, you can check back in with that breath, trying to keep a softness in the body. Avoidance is not, I have found in my experience working with people, avoidance is often not easily recognized as a reason for certain emotions or feelings that we may be experiencing. There's a certain resistance that's created when we're avoiding something. And eventually, the end result is that we have to learn to center ourselves, to be mindful about whatever that is that we are avoiding. Using our breath to bring an even energy around avoidance, because there's a lot of fear around things that we are avoiding. There's many reasons that we do avoid things. The two common reasons are something changing and or the effect that whatever it is that you're avoiding, that effect that it will have on others. I think sometimes it's more important to slow down rather than trying to rush a solution to something. I think that's one of the things that kind of starts the avoidance, is we're trying to handle something that we're uncomfortable with. And we try to handle whatever it is in an expeditious manner. And we get frustrated. We have about 1 more minute here. Henry. So for today, we're just going to simply feel the power of the way that it's a clear mind to keep things in perspective. And focusing on what's before you right now to see if you can create the space and use the time to work through whatever is being avoided. You have about 2 more breaths. Those 2 breaths, you can remove the prop that you may have at your low back or near one of your cheek bums. Just roll on your spine. You can bring your knees to your chest, or maybe windshield wiper your knees side to side. Eventually move your props and get ready to take your supine twist on the other side. Any prop at the low back. Sometimes you gotta lean to the opposite side, and then you can wedge that block behind the lowest cheek bum. Slowly breathing in and breathing out. This time, shimmying that left shoulder over as far as you can to the left. Make sure you can relax that right leg to be fully relaxed onto the floor. The way is hard, but clear. Though it is the hardest going, the way is clear. The naturalist and environmentalist Kevin Scribner tells us that salmon make their way upstream by bumping repeatedly into blocked pathways until they find where the current is strongest. Somehow unimpeded rush of water means that there is no obstacle there. And so they enter this opening fervently, for though it is the hardest going, the way is clear. The lesson here is as unnerving as it is helpful. In facing both inner and outer adversities, the passage of truth comes at us with a powerful momentum because it is clear and unimpeded. And so, where we sense the rush of truth is where we must give our all. As human beings, the blocked pathways of our journey can take on many forms. And whether it be in avoiding conflict with others, or in not taking the risk to love, or in not accepting the call of spirit or divine that would have us participate more fully in our days, it is often easier to butt up continually against these blocked pathways than to enter fervently the one passage that is so powerfully clear. In this regard, salmon innately model a healthy persistence by showing us how to keep nosing for the unimpeded way, and once finding it, how to work even harder to make it through. Some say it is easier for salmon, since the power of their drive to end where they begin is not compromised by the endless considerations that often keep us from the truth. Still, it is the heart's capacity to rise one more time after falling down, no matter how bruised, that verifies such a drive lives in us too. Like salmon, our way depends not just on facing things head on, but in moving our whole being through to the other side. You have about 1 more minute on this side. You have about 2 more breaths. Slowly come back onto your spine. You're going to hear a little noise. Close my window a little bit. you're ready, you're going to move into a shoulder stretch. Coming face down. You can always take it at the wall. Face down, starting with your right arm out, straight out from your shoulder. Bring your right ear down, right shoulder down, right arm out. Then roll your left hip onto your right. You can place your left foot behind your right leg or bend those knees and let them stack one on top of the other. You can rest your left hand near your face or use it for a little support to stay lifted. If you feel a big pull on your left hip, maybe put a blanket or a block in between your knees to take some of that pull out. And just slowly breathe in and out. I understand that the story seemed simplistic. That if it were that easy, right, to not avoid things, to deal with things, we'd probably have a lot less addictions and vices, different things that we use to avoid feeling or not feeling whatever it is. Avoiding can be some of the examples given in the story. Finding love, maybe a new job, changing a relationship, changing even people with whom you spend your time. And with so many of those things, I'm not a mathematician, but there's so many variables. In my own experience, I've come to learn that those difficult conversations, either with myself or with others regarding whatever it is that I might be avoiding, whether it's a sibling, a parent, co-worker, whatever it is, that you just gotta rip off the Band-Aid. And of course it depends on the people. You have one more minute on this side. It depends on the people that are involved, if there are other people involved in whatever it is. Because if it's work, you have to think about the office politics, and there's definitely other things. But I think when the avoiding of something starts to cause damage to the mind, to the body, to the soul, then I think it's time to start having the conversation of whatever it is, at least first with yourself. And start figuring out what can be changed or what can't be changed. And what can you do about what can't be changed or what can you do instead. We have 2 more breaths here. And after those 2 breaths, you can roll onto your belly. Maybe roll your right shoulder around a little bit. Relax that right arm back next to your body. Your left arm out, and we'll do shoulder stretch on that left arm. Left ear down, left shoulder down. Roll your right hip onto your left. Maybe stack your knees or place your right foot behind your left leg. Slowly breathing in, slowly breathing out. The elephant in the room is always the question of what do you do about the things that you cannot avoid? The people that you cannot avoid, the uncomfortable conversations that you cannot avoid. For me, I think the biggest one in my past was what was the thing, or what were the things about myself or in my life that I could not avoid, that by trying to avoid them were making me unhappy. Whether I was overeating, not exercising, believing old and untrue messages from the past, and people ask me, how did you stop doing this? How did you stop doing that? And there are definitely a lot of things that I used to avoid that I've learned to move through and grow from. And there are still things on occasion that I will turn to, usually food. When I start to self-doubt, I know logically in my mind, how is overeating or overindulging something going to make me feel better about blah, blah, blah? I know it's not. I know it's just going to make me feel worse. And then give me something new to focus on, which is what my brain is trying to do. I don't want to think about that. I want to avoid that, so I'm going to start doing something else to give me something else to think about. asana part, the movement part on the mat. You have 1 more minute here. Learning all the different things that I've learned, and I've only learned maybe 2% of all there is out there to know about yoga. But it's helped with much of the suffering that was going on in my life, the things that I was avoiding, moving through, learning from, growing from. You have 2 more breaths here. After those 2 breaths, go ahead and roll onto your belly. We're going to do 1 more pose on the floor, and then, well, you're still going to be on the floor, but you'll be moving over to a wall for the last quarter of class. But before we get to the wall, we're going to come into a seated forward fold a little differently today. In all the years I've been teaching Yin, I've never taught caterpillar or forward fold with a bolster. I've taught it with using blocks under your knees and blankets under your knees, which you can definitely still do. But with your knee bolster and sitting on your sits bones, and I'm scooching as far forward as I can so that my heels touch the floor. I have found that I'm able to get a little, quote, deeper into my fold, and then a blanket is nice for under the head. Rather than no bolster, which if we sit a lot for our jobs, see, I can only come so far. And when I use the bolster, I'm already got my knees at my chest so I feel like I can stretch a little bit more. You definitely don't have to keep the bolster there. The whole that you're going to be here, you can leave it there until you start to feel like you're loosening up. Move the bolster. The thing to do is to relax the inner thighs. When we've got our legs on something, we tend to want to, for whatever reason, I think it's just a reflex. So relax those inner thighs so that the toes can fall out. Soften through your jaw, your face. And then let that feeling come your spine. Your shoulder blades, the muscles on top of your shoulder blades. We're going to take the last chunk of this class looking at and feeling the body, and maybe what we sometimes avoid feeling in the body. And you might be wondering, well, how can we avoid feeling something in our body when we feel it physically? I mean, we feel it, there's no denying that. But, and I'll give you that, but I'm sure that there are times that you are experiencing discomfort or pain, and you continue moving through whatever that is, day after day after day after day after day. And considering what I do a lot with my body. And I realized that I had to take a look back just recently to figure out what's going on with me. Like I'm starting to feel sore again, almost like I did before my spine surgery. I've been feeling like I don't have any energy to exercise on my own. And I realized that there was just some things that I think that I had to kind of sort out. As far as, you know, what am I expected to do and who's expecting me to do that, and kind of realizing like, wait a minute, I'm putting different expectations upon myself, and I'm not doing other things because of those expectations. I guess you could say I was avoiding taking care of myself, thinking I had to kind of prove something. I'm not really sure why or how it came about. It's just something that's just sort of unraveled. But last weekend I spoke about surrender. And that's what May is going to be about. Different forms of surrendering, physically, mentally, spiritually. Because in order to no longer avoid something, you have to surrender into whatever that is. You have about 1 more minute here, and when we have to surrender into something physically, I've had to surrender into, okay, I've got to slow down. My schedule slowed down a little bit this week, and so I've just been doing a ton of resting and giving myself permission to do so. And for some reason, I was not doing that. I was avoiding that need to rest, that need to slow down, and I was telling myself other things. And my body was feeling it. And these last couple days, my body's feeling so much better. Take 2 more breaths. And when you come out of those, when you take those 2 breaths, you can slowly come up. We're going to move into, take your time, I'm just showing you where you're going to be going next. We're going to come into stirrup at the wall. Remember or be mindful, I should say, I've learned a lot since my surgery about the cervical spine. So if you're using a blanket, try to create a little ledge, if you will, or towel in one side of the blanket, and let that be what supports right under your neck, and then you can have the rest sort of under your head like I do here. I have a little thicker roll right under my neck, and then the rest of this blanket. Just a little side note of information there. So coming into stirrup pose, you can figure out in your own body how close or far away from the wall you need to be. You're going to take the feet out as wide as your body will allow you to. And we're just going to let the knees go out. You can always use your blocks and place them sideways under your thighs. Oh, hi. There's my assistant. Hello. Did you wake up from your nap? I like to place the block sideways sometimes under my thighs in stirrup, so that way my stretch is a controlled stretch. Try to open up through the thighs, the hips, the inner thighs specifically, creating a little bit of compression on your hips, a A lot of times when we take, not for everybody, we're all different, but a lot of times when we take the knees in opposite directions like this, we're bringing a nice release to the low back, which can also be beneficial if we've been avoiding stretching, especially if we sit a lot for our job and we don't practice stretching on a regular basis. Even my husband, when he's home working, I pay attention to the clock a lot because I've got to pick up my son from school, or if I've got a private client coming over, so I'm watching my clock a lot, and so I know if he's been sitting and working and not gotten up, and if it's been a couple hours, sure enough, he'll go to stand up and it's just very, very tight, and so I have him do some standing forward folds, doing some squats. So even in those seemingly insignificant times and ways, we avoid doing things. But our body lets us know. Boy, does it let us know if we've not been exercising or eating healthy or getting sunlight or even laughing. All the mental stuff about avoidance, whether it be love, relationships, and so on. We know. We know. We know what we need to do. We know what we need to not do. And maybe you start practicing letting go, surrendering, letting go of avoidance simply by the physical part, not avoiding ways and things to do to take care of your body. You're in your last minute here. You only have about half a minute left. My assistant has quickly fallen asleep again, which means at around 9 o'clock he'll be bouncing off the walls, wanting to play. Take 2 more breaths. And you're going to want to keep your position. I'm not sure in stirrup if you are close to the wall. I'm going to assume that you're not super close to the wall in stirrup. Unless you took your legs straight out, then you definitely could be really close to the wall. But to come into figure 4, you're going to want, and you can take a second or 2 to breathe before you move into it. You're going to want about 8 to 12 inches between your bottom and the wall. And we will start with the right leg in figure 4. So you'll extend your left leg up the wall, put your right ankle on your left thigh, and then slowly slide that left foot down, just to the point where your bottom starts to lift off of the floor. If your bottom starts to lift off the floor, then you either need to scoot yourself away from the wall or send that left leg a little bit higher. You want to keep the whole spine supported. So think about all the way down to that tailbone. Is it still on the floor? If your cheek lifts up a little bit, but your tailbone's still on the floor, that's totally fine. You just want to support that spine. It does a lot of work for you. And if you're letting your bottom lift up as you're getting into that stretch, for some people, you might be kind of taking away from some of the stretch because you're lifting your bottom up to get into the stretch instead of keeping your bottom right where it is and moving the legs to increase the stretchy feeling. So for your last several minutes, last few poses. Know that for this hour, you've chosen not to avoid physical movement and opening of your body. And maybe the movements that you're doing and have done in this class today can inspire you to say to yourself, well, I opened my body today and my mind into relaxing. So what other solutions can I start working on tomorrow about different things that I've been avoiding? It may start as simple as writing things down. Step 1. Just let your body breathe, relax, and enjoy. You have about 1 more minute on this side. Take 2 more breaths. And after those 2 breaths, just go ahead and extend both legs onto the wall. Go ahead and move into the other leg. Put your right leg on the wall, left ankle, right thigh. Take a slow breath in and a slow breath out. did start a couple minutes late today, so I will go over a couple of minutes. We have 2 more breaths. And after those 2 breaths, you can take legs up the wall. You can move your body away from the wall and come into Shavasana. Whatever works. Slowly start to deepen your breath. Open and close your hands, your toes. When you're ready to close out your practice, come to a seat. take your hands to your lips. I ask that you speak words of kindness and compassion, not just to others, but to and about yourself. Take your hands to your eyes. I ask that you see the beauty and love in others, but also that which lies right there within you first. And take your hands to your third eye center. Go and be the best you that you can be, because there is only one you. Take a deep breath in through your nose. And exhale as we bow forward to seal our practice and honor each other. Blessings and namaste.